It's Monday. It's January 9th, 2022. I was, I've been up for a while and there seems to be a theme this morning. I was scanning the channels, the lower channels, between Fox, NBC, until the CBS normal programming started. I watched Me TV this morning. I caught a little piece of Dragnet, a little piece of My Three Sons. There was something on about Popeye, and then CBS started. And there's this thread of interesting. What are the adults at programming trying to say? Again, there's this divine order of humanity. I know how to explain it. It's very scientific. Or at least I know how to explain my piece of it with knuckleheads and conscious computers or conscious computation. And before anybody with big mouths and trigger tempers get off their whatever for the wrong reasons, um, the heel, when you have a skeleton, has a knuckle, looks like a knuckle. It's some kind of, um, I forget the exact word of it, some kind of pronunciation. Um, they call it the calcaneus in bones structure, which is where I get calcaneus calculus from, for how we walk and in dimensional science on this third, whatever, rock from the sun. Um, and then they were showing um, something they refer to as the monarch, and they're having some fight in some place they call across the pond. That is not in walking distance from where I sleep and wake up each day. And they have this publication over there called The Sun, being the SUN. Um, they call it tabloid. So I was listening to them. They said something about one of the um, the one of Wales. They say that one of the sons of this man, and not in any cosmological order that makes sense. I think they're just left with a bloodline of importance, um, as astronomers are able to confirm, for machine mechanics and then the whatever. And family trees and branches being whatever they are we supportive, or how does that work? Um, they're saying that um, one of their people over across the pond was saying about their own monarch, um, that they wanted to see excrement thrown at the prince's wife. And I'm like, that sounds like social media in this day and age where they allow the destitute or the excommunicated with, such as myself, and I don't know how I got into this situation and if that's really what it is, but betrayal being whatever it looks like, as there is some astronomer somewhere that knows that my son and I arrived on a special date. There's some ministry somewhere that knows that there's a delivery doctor who can confirm it and take root in his heart. I suppose I listened this morning. The number three had a very big NFL event, one of the New York area's Buffalo Bills went down. He had some kind of concussion slash heart event, but he wears my number 3. Um, there are set numbers that I watch over, and then the people that are adorned in them and what their messages are. Um, and so this man was hurt on the field, and now there's a great pouring out. This particular game that just went on, the first game after this event, um, was between New England Patriots, for which my star brother used to play before he got put somewhere else for unbeknownst to me. Um, and then they played this team upstate New York called Buffalo. Again, I don't really know the sports gods necessarily, excommunicated as we are in a whatever. Um, and so now I'm listening to them. Then I went to this Boomer, Esiason, and Geo like conversation with a guy named Jerry. I don't really know these people, but that's the labels. So don't anybody get upset. Like, we get called sir somewhere. I'm like, yeah, I saw that in a movie, but I got a phone call once, and the person was really angry on the phone that he gets called sir. And I said, and really, I was very apologetic. I said, I've heard that there's a section of the population that is called sir. I have no idea. I've heard it on the television growing up, but I don't know what movie it was associated with, and I don't know what sector of the population expects that. Around where I am, it's addressed Mr. and Mrs. when there's US Post going out. That's the most respectful that I'm aware of. Um, as far as etiquette and social gatherings, unless somebody introduces themselves as such, I don't know. And on a phone, when it's a conference between multiple men, it's hard when I don't know the voices to know which one gets the respect of being called sir or whatever other title they might be called at their residence or at their daily effect or wherever they are. Um, so I listened to Boomer and Geo and this guy Jerry talk about the sports gods and divine intervention, um, and how they joke about it. Because again, I don't really follow their sports. Um, and then I'm like, all right, so if they think there's a sports god, which again, I can define that very clearly from divine order having the future in my bringing the future on my body into this world and then passing it through, where there's actually a living embodiment and incarnate of the definition of such. Um, if more than theoretically there's this sports god thing, um, what would the sports god, if we're not in communication on a daily basis, what would he or she be filling their heads with in order to lead this league of sports arena? If they've fallen out of tune with the divine order of humankind, being that I've been here since 1978 with very little to no contact. So then I look to the Gospels gossipers, the Gospel, Gospel, and then the gossipers, the Gossip. You mean the ones that go out and profess the gospel on behalf of the gods of I don't know what order? But again, I don't know if it's like where that line of national security lays, of order and confidence, neat and tidy, with like a Dr. Rick from the Progressive Insurance Company, and the way of his being more like Andrew Womack, I think that's his name, or more Gods of Chaos, of mispronouncing it. There's another example, but he does it in such a way that it's actually helpful for what I got going on this morning, trying to see if I chase the lines of sports gods and what are they basing their reality off of, other than just game stats and a lot of gambling and gaming commissions and casinos, and then property management, for which they have not included me in the way that I needed to be wrapped up carefully into the system necessarily. So that's my basis of conversation for this morning. Checking carefully, I took notes before I start the itemized what was on and being portrayed this morning. So I'm going to start this with 503 WJLP Me TV. Tune in with me. It's Tic Tac Toony 2, and that's Toony, just for New York. And there's two of us in this state at Tic Tac for Toe. It says Bill and the gang play another round of the game show Tic Tac Toony. And on this episode that I caught part of the way through, it says Hot Air Aces. Hot Air Aces. Now, is that right at the beginning of season before the HEIR comes about? Is this what the men talk about in the leagues above? Like, I mean, where is the family planning unit that I needed in order to safely carry me to my House of August representative? I know we have a photo that we met, so we were covered with sports league, with Monarch, with family, whatever, against if anything went wrong, which it has, that we had proof that we made the attempt, and then we could follow suit with what stood in our way and made it so it didn't happen the way that the honorable and formal would have preferred it to have happened. Now it says Round the World Air Races. Has a little aviation flair to it. Then it says Last One Home is a Rotten Egg. Now I find it interesting in Germano Tedesco as per Italiano. Rot means red 10. And then there's like this almost kind of sort of, but not really, Red Baron reference that I saw Snoopy and Woodstock, another in Peanuts, because I got a pea pod. And I have another photo with an NSA rep holding him in that exact outfit. In a, like, I don't understand. Like, if there are gods of any league, why there was not like a, you know, when the ref does this and they put two hands together and they make a T, like for timeout. Why couldn't that rep have just saved me where he found me and the baby, or in that delivery room, or better yet, before I even left Virginia to come back to New York? Why? Why do I have some kind of rep somewhere that I don't have regular access to, but he steps out of the shadows for me and the baby in divine order and whoever this mystery person is, that cosmologically is in the same cosmic nursery, or I don't even know the word for it, for me and my son. And I know it's again, it's the correct relationship. It's just I don't like at savoir. Like I see you, voir en français.
Well, Pluto, I hope the best man wins.
That's Popeye. That's me.
Hey, you Skylarks, look at the fighty.
Alouette, gentil Alouette.
Popeye, don't let that blown-up Pluto bully.
I find interesting that Olive Oil is wearing black and yellow. When Niklaus carried me on his back to the meeting with Ian, IAN, I was wearing a jacket in those exact colors. And the brand name was Bear, Bear. He had me put his glasses on and the hood on because he wanted to carry me on his back like a piggyback, which he did to the meeting. I mean, we walked most of the way, and then towards the end, he wanted to carry me the rest of the way. For whatever reason, I didn't argue. I didn't ask questions.
Attention, attention, you eagles. Start flapping your wings.
Now, I don't know. I'm going to have two gospel guys on this morning. One reference is a man by the name of Andrew. And who is this other one? Oh, Stephen Furtick, Furtick. And it's spelled Steven.
Contact.
Come on, Popeye, beat the wings off that buzzard. Popeye, wake up! Wake up! You're gonna lose the race! Popeye! Bon voyage, Popeye! Machete, I go for you. You go for me. Oh la la, ma petite. You are rich neat.
Hiya, babe. Chevrolet Coupe, Chemin de Fer. Ooh la la, what beautiful hair.
Ra-ba-da-da, this crate's just a tub. Skis, cut.
Cut the OAR. What could that mean?
with me to the Casbah.
That guy's parley-vooey is a lot of hooey.
Parlez-vous, lots of hooey. Now that's interesting. I have a my overlay parlay that I do. Again, there's a lot of conversation that went on before I got here. A lot of me being in a whole bunch of rooms that never got me to any kind of safety unit that I needed to be in, but here we are. And how do I know Italy is shaped like a boot? Yeah, they put it in a cartoon when I was little, but then they took off this fancy bottom part. Looks now like pants. They even have the Siberian steppes in here as a reference. I mean, I grew up on this stuff.
Well, what do you know? Your engine is missing. Attention! Flash! Pluto is streaking through the stratosphere. Popeye is nowhere in sight.
Now he's misses, like his pistons are missing, so he puts in spinach. Again, there is the divine order of cosmology and astrology that needs certain children to stay on destiny's course no matter what for the HEIR and for the special relationship of symmetry. But the challenge has been, or the challenging portion of the formula and the biological biological included in some scientific correctness is the fact that the symmetrical pieces of biology, being a mother and a son, for my instance, SON, and he's also an SUN, has these asymmetrical units of humanity that are trying to complete some other, I don't know what. And they've pulled my appearance, my existence off course, which now is other agenda items because there is a benchmark and you can't watch them all. You have to pick and hierarchy which ones so you can gauge when there's a problem, what's arising, and what it might mean. I happen to be one of those significant pieces.
Show up. Will Popeye make it? Only time will tell.
Popeye, straighten up and fly right, like this.
Now, I don't know the engine and the pistons behind this. I see some color acknowledgments in their pageantry, but I'm really not clear. I'm going to go to that CBS morning piece, which was E6. It's Monday, January 9th.
Lloyd was from a commentator, reportedly a friend of Camilla's, saying he dreamed of the Duchess being made to parade naked through the streets while the crowds throw lumps of excrement at her.
Has there been any?
Now, that sounds a lot like a social media platform in this day and age, from what I can gather. I don't go on to the commentary. I don't go on, like, I really, the voices that want to be loud and obnoxious to me, bullets work faster than whatever. So, whatever professional league handles that, that's what I have some godly faith in, that they're taking care of national security business. Um, so this way, those of us in the divine order are not harmed in any way. Um, but it sounds like a social media platform where now it's no longer an office of like what's allowed to be pronounced and who may collect these things, and like it being an honor to be part of this process. It's really bastardized, the media system, the cycle, the and now it, for me, looks like a very messy, very scary situation of cleanup on aisle 7, um, for what's for some of this chaos that has been caused by this allowance of the social media. You don't know who's tracking you, who's following you. And I mean, like in the field, you don't know this. I mean, I don't know this from this seat. I'm sure that there's a professional that is in charge of my personal security by this point, knowing the astrologers can agree and confirm the existence of myself, my son, and this, unbeknownst to Alexander and I, who this doctor was that came to deliver him, but who knows of our special astrological timing piece, and unit, since we're a unit in scientific measurement, for more important purposes than just day-to-day tasking of humanity. So now, I'm gonna go to this Stephen Ferntick, with his just small piece. He says, like, why? He's like, when you call out to God, you want him to be quick. Huh? And then it says, something about the piece again. It, for me, it's gospel. It's some form of GOSSIP in the GOSPELL. I really never know who pays them to travel the world or travel their route and profess whatever divine wisdom they're working on, and what their integration is. He seems to have some form of rehabilitation addition to his sermons or preachiness. I can hear it, in the distance. He doesn't come right out and say it, but it's a different tonality and driving factor, perhaps life driven, I'm not sure, from experiential, than the Andrew, person who also speaks.
Soon, come quickly, Lord. You gotta have those come quick prayers. Come quickly, Lord. Come quickly, Holy Spirit. Come quickly before I slip. Come quickly before I fall. Come quickly before I lose my mind. Come quickly before I lose my testimony. Come quickly before I relapse. Come quickly before I backslide. Come quickly before I go off. Come quick, Lord. I need you quick.
I get they're able to think on their own, these humans, and that they get it and they profess it to one another. What I don't understand is in action and motion, why they don't follow their own advice with what, I've actually needed.
Why did he go to Egypt for help when he knew the God of Elijah? It's because we reach for what's immediate. Not always what's helpful. One of the attendants of the Assyrian army came out and said, "You went to the king of Egypt?" This is in 2 Kings, around chapter 19. He said, "You went to that splintered staff?"
Now, is he talking about the media staff? MEDIA? Is he talking about like the See the BS this morning and what they have going on in megaphones and stegaphones? I'm just curious. Or is it about this hiring thing, this integration of somebody had a dream, but it wasn't my kid. It wasn't about my kid. It was about somebody else's kid, and I have the divine order here. So this gets a little confusing as to what are they hitting home with whose hammer and what lightning bolt.
And who leans on him gets pierced. This ain't gonna work. This isn't gonna work at all. Where do you turn when you're tired? Where do you turn when you're in trouble?
I've been asking myself that, and the only sign of hope, the only thing that they've put out in the light as far as astrologers go and some form of unity is Mr. Thomas Brady. He's the only one that has the signs of the same God that I was born underneath.
And why don't you do it sooner? Why didn't I go to God? I know it's easier for us to go with what we can see. This is the challenge, to depend on an invisible God that you can't see when you're facing challenges that are so big that they are all that you can see. Come here, Ty. Come here. This is the one I told the story about a few months ago, but I need you to visualize it. And since he's here today, we're going to take our opportunity. He does so many things well. He's so gifted. He's so talented. Y'all see my fade every week? That's Fly Ty Jacobs, the one and only. The one and only. I always tell him in my chair everything I'm going to preach before I preach it, and then I preach none of it because God always changes it between Saturday and Sunday. But come here because he was going to give somebody a haircut recently. You know, this is like crazy sponsorship, like right there, what I'm doing for you, right? Oh man, I'm telling you, you owe me like 7 free haircuts off of this. There's a lot of people that watch, but this will be worth it. This will be worth it for the illustration. He said, I went to cut somebody's hair the other day, and when I was going in, you know what I'm gonna tell him? When I was going in, I got intimidated because their house was crazy. Yeah. And I started thinking, first of all, about why did they get this house and I don't get it? Because he's petty, so y'all pray for me. Secondly, he said it started to get in my head.
Now, when they say petty, like, you mean petticoat? Like, I'm confused by this message. I mean, I hear them say the word. They made it into this language system here, but it doesn't necessarily match the monarch and the English that was around during my grandfather's day when he came here from Italy. It's now like this new integrated American language. And it's now, if English sees this, is that going to start a war? Are they going to misinterpret it? Am I going to get in further harm's way? I mean, again, this is that whole asymmetry now has the ability to talk, and I hear them, and I'm trying to at least scale back on the possibilities of mistranslating, where I'm like, no, there's bigger things out there that I'm concerned about that I don't want to talk about, except if I'm in the correct company, which at the moment,
And I got distracted by how nice the house was. I started getting intimidated. And he said, but when I went in and I started doing what I do, what God gifted me to do.
Yeah.
He said it was amazing because when I left, I got a text from everybody that was in the house that said, man, it changed our lives having you in our house today.
Yeah.
Did you make that up or is that true? He said, this is a true story, all right? I only have his word to go off of. He is an exaggerator, but I believe it. And I looked at him and I said, it sounds like you got so distracted by what you were walking into
Yeah.
that you forgot what you were walking in with.
Yes.
That, I thank him for that, for acknowledging that, because that's what it feels like of why was a particular birth announcement raised so high where there was still hope and faith in the world? I mean, I know somebody was raised right. I know somebody arrived to the correct leadership, guidance, and they raised him up right quick. I arrived, but I'm the one that has the future and the cosmic certainty in that house that other things are built on and off of.
Want that preach? Come on. Isn't that like the children of Israel going into Canaan to spy out the land, carrying the promise of a covenant-keeping God? Talking about the giants are big. What happened? They got...
Now, are those the New York Giants? Because again, like, down this warped time and space path, I have a son named Daniel. I know that there was an Indiana Jones. Now there's a Daniel Jones who wears my other number. And that's the infinity number between me and the special child. And my son Daniel, this way, dressed up and supported Harrison Ford and his Indiana Jones, whatever, in costume only. And then it switched. It was no longer Indiana Jones for me. It was Indiana Dan. And I still to this day call him Indiana Dan whenever I reference that Halloween, that particular Halloween, because he thought he was hot stuff in that costume like little kids do. He wore it like he was Harrison Ford walking around the kitchen.
got so distracted by what they were walking into that they forgot the promise they were walking in with.
That's so good.
So when you remember, I'm done with you. So when you remember, I just wanted to use that illustration because I saw him there and it came to my heart. And I think it might be for somebody, because when you are not in constant communication with God, and I mean just throughout the day, God is, there I go, I get off track. God, there I go, I get off track. God, there I go, I get off track. You will be all the way through the whole bag of Fritos before you realize, oh, I need the Holy Spirit to fill me. Because these Fritos are filling me, but it doesn't feel very good now that they fill me. I'm not less stressed. I just got 3 more pounds to carry when I get off this couch. And now I don't feel like doing anything, and now I'm taking a nap, and now I'm gonna miss my job, and now I'm gonna get fired, and then my wife's gonna leave me, and everything fell apart because I ate Fritos. But what I'm saying is, listen to me. Say something sooner. Say something sooner. Catch yourself quicker. Instead of running the pills.
They've sent representatives. I've confirmed this. I've said sooner. In fact, the man with the gray trousers, who came with some oversight for himself because he knows how important he is and he knows who he brought into that meeting at the Christmas party with Peter, where I had asked Peter if I could go with Birthday Club because I didn't want to go to Mike Kelly's and the Christmas party in the limo and get really dizzy and woozy. I wanted to go with the man in the gray trousers because he looked more correct than what Jason is. And he already knew some things for which then there was more conversations. I did speak up, and whoever that was, that's carrying that for me. I'm listening to this Boomer and Geo. And they talk about
in
sports
Buffalo, the
gods.
game starting out this way, as we heard from Jim Nance on CBS.
We're underway as New England decided to defer after winning the toss. And here's Hines on the run back, breaking a tackle and taking it past midfield. And down the sideline he goes. This is storybook. An opening kickoff return for Tamar Hamlin. And this place is absolutely going wild. Oh, you just said this is storybook. This is almost fate. I just can't believe what just happened. Josh Allen, the same
Is it
thing.
storybook?
6 days removed
I don't know
from
what that
this
means.
incredible scene that we saw when the Bills put her down in Cincinnati, and now.
Oh my God! So unbelievable! Oh, Jim! Oh!
By the way, that was not a blowout game. I know 35-23 doesn't look close, but that game was close. Buffalo, though, comes away with the win. They are the 2 seed. Hines had not one, but 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns. The second one, the Patriots let him score. He says, obviously, it was very emotional, as you can imagine. And so they had their teammate Hamlin with them the whole, every step of the way, as they say.
You seem like we have 3 zone. I had 3 on my iPads today. It's been amazing, but all that was for him, and I'm happy for the things that happened to me. But I was spirited. I felt like he was out there with us.
So there you Gary, sports gods.
No, I'm sorry, wrong.
No, yes.
Wrong.
Gary, yes.
Wrong.
Yes.
I thought they tried harder and actually executed all their blocks. And
Jerry,
then the second time, the Patriots let him score.
Jerry,
that one guy should be cut for that whiff
don't-
on the tackle.
These things just don't happen.
They
Jerry.
do just happen.
There's divine intervention.
Oh, yeah.
There's
No.
spirituality.
Stop
There's.
it.
I'm telling
Stop.
you.
So what did the Packers fan pray to Satan?
No. Dan Campbell.
Oh, Dan Campbell, yeah.
Dan Campbell,
Right.
The odds were on his side.
Get
You know
credit
what?
for
The
the
Lions need something sometime soon, and they got a little bit of it last
They didn't
night.
make the playoffs.
Yeah,
If you said
exactly.
Dan Campbell, then you know what? After Nuts
not-
misses the field goal, the Rams would go down and score, and that game would have been for the playoffs last night.
I have to say that there's nothing better than for Dan Campbell and the Lions than to knock Aaron Rodgers. and
Yeah,
Green Bay
better would be
Packers
knocking
out
him
of
out.
it.
Again, it's like the man standing in Jerusalem speaking of the gospels that he, like all these words and names, and I'm like, where did he learn that one? Like, what version text is that? Because here, where I am in New York, there's just, and then let's go over to Andrew, because he's got something that he talks about with this knowledge, and then like trying to gain, like, but you don't have roots and you don't know it in your heart. It's like, right, yeah, let's reference that one for a moment. This is E6, Andrew Womack, Gospel Truth.
You have to comprehend with all saints what is the breadth and length and depth and height, and to know the love of Christ, which passeth knowledge. If it passes knowledge, then how can you know it? It's 2 different types of knowing. There's one kind of knowing, intellectual, just where you understand something, you can repeat it back. You can teach a bird to say certain things. That doesn't mean that it knows it. It's just, mimicking something that's been said.
And then there's sacred geometry. There's astrologers, there's cosmologists, and there's formula, and there's deep-rooted necessity of certain storylines and storybook, I suppose, if that's what they're calling it. at Book of Kings and the Divine Order things. Currently, I'm having trouble figuring out who's closest to the Divine Order, and how to just upkeep, I suppose.
So there's just an intellectual knowledge, but then you can know something with your heart. And once you get that passes just intellectual knowledge. You know from your heart. And I literally have had hundreds, maybe thousands of times that God has spoken something to me, and you go through this process where it starts off as hope. I'm not sure I've totally got it, but man, I'm excited about it. And I see it, and you head in that direction, and eventually it just becomes, man, I've got it. I'm doing that with all of these buildings. I hadn't got time to go into it, but this building right here, I saw this building. I designed it on a napkin and gave it to our architects. And of course, they made it look a lot better than my napkin drawing. But I saw all of these things. But there was a time that I was saying, God, what do you want? And I was thinking and wondering about it and doing different things. But then, I don't know, it's probably months period of time. All of a sudden, I saw it. And I'm in that process. This student housing, I've been talking about that for probably 2 or 3 months with my staff. And man, I have drawn it, but I've got it in my heart.
Absolutely beautiful and stunning. But again, I'm in this New York area. I see a younger version of this now, and luckily they call themselves elders. They follow up with me, which I greatly appreciate. I don't know. Again, the thing is that I never know who's playing for what team, what their modus operandi are. I'm missing my other. I'm missing my cosmological certain piece that knows things like that. Enough for the two of us. I already know that because you arrived to a better group of circumstances than I did. That was confirmed when we were children. Where I'm deficient in is that lifelong journey by your side, or at least with access to you if I fall in hard times or on hard times.
And I know some of you think, I don't understand what you're saying. Anyway, I haven't got time to teach on that, but you gotta know things beyond intellect. It's got to be in your heart. You see things with your heart. Many of you see yourself dying. You're praying for healing, but you see yourself dying. Many of you are praying for finances, but you see yourself poor. You're praying for success, but you see yourself a failure. You got to change that image on the inside before you see it on the outside. Christ may dwell in your hearts by faith. You got to comprehend these things in your heart, and then you will know, which passes just mere intellect. The word know in the Bible is used to describe that Adam knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and had a child. All the way through the Bible, the word know is describing an intimate sexual relationship between a man and a woman. And it's talking about the most intimate way that you can know a person. It's the same thing. You've got to know by experience. It has to become real to you. And that passes just mere knowledge, so that you may know the love of Christ, which passeth knowledge, that you might be filled with all the fullness of God.
Facing financial difficulty.
Now this was Good Day Wake Up, which is Fox
News with Asfield with more.
Well, there has been a lot of love for the Buffalo Bills' Damar Hamlin across the nation this week, and starting on Saturday, it made its way back onto the football fields of the NFL. Most important, though, Hamlin's recovery, and according to doctors at UC Medical Center, this weekend, Damar made continued progress while he's...
Now, interestingly enough, in a symbolic world, strictly symbolic conversation, if you have the number 8 and you're able to take the 8 and hold it on both sides, and then it cracks in half and you're able to pull them apart, the 8 apart, it now becomes an 8 and then after it breaks, it looks like an E and a 3. So 8-3 yet again. So this is this message about this actual person, one of the asymmetrical, but that is adorned in this 3 symbolically, which they're all now coming out, and they did a beautiful tribute piece to his professionalism on the sports field. And to watch, I'm not in their sports and team family, I suppose. I mean, maybe by spirit, but they haven't actually included me in like the fold, I suppose, is a way to say it. But I'm watching from afar as how they come out for him. They are really pushing by symbols on my newscast, the number 3. They have the person and the symbol that they're paying tribute to. And I'm watching both sides of that.
Still in critical condition, he is breathing on his own, and his neurological function is excellent. And his recovery was never more evident than Sunday, with DeMar's nonstop tweeting and social media posts as he watched the Bills take on the Patriots. And when the Bills ran out of the tunnel, they showed the world they had Hamlin in their hearts. Josh Allen and a number of other players carrying flags with Hamlin's number 3. Also honored before the game, the Bills' medical and training staff. It was an emotional scene for the men.
Now, on this team, I saw somebody on the next cast. They have a player called Thomas who wears a 3-4.
Women who responded quickly when Hamlin first collapsed. Many medical professionals, including the doctors treating Hamlin, say their fast work on the field is the reason Hamlin is alive today. The
3 is also called the Trinity, I've heard.
As you can imagine, was also emotional, cheering wildly.
And here it says, "We are one nation." It's got some buffaloes with the 3 and some hearts. And then it says, "Let's go Buffalo." Now, I've met one person from Buffalo that I'm aware of. Like, I mean, a respectable needed work, and I found him on my algorithm. It came up he was looking for work. I contacted him, and he was a very, very good worker. Like, I mean, when we had a job to do, he showed up on time. He showed up. He was probably from my entire life thus far, he's been one of the most memorable and one of the most hard-working individuals that ever crossed paths with me. He also happened to be very blessed in his whichever, but more importantly, I talk about being in the presence of greatness, in the spiritual component of came to accomplish whatever was being asked of him, for which I greatly appreciated.
Carrying signs, all to show their support and love for DeMar. And then just moments before kickoff, Hamlin tweeted this photo of himself surrounded by his parents, making his now famous heart sign with his hands with the caption, "Game time." And right on cue, the Bills' Nyheim Hines returned the opening kickoff 96 yards for a touchdown. This was the very first Bills play since Hamlin's collapse. Talk about being inspired by DeMar. Later in the game, Hines did it again, and that one went for over 100 yards. By the way, it's been 3 years and 3 months since the Bills returned a kickoff for a touchdown. Think about that for a second. The Bills beat the Patriots 35-23 to clinch the second seed in the AFC. And if they end up playing the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, that would be played now on a neutral site. On to the Giants playing the Eagles. Saquon Barkley watching as a healthy scratch in Philadelphia with plenty of Love for DeMar t-shirts on the Giants sidelines. Quarterback Daniel Jones with the earpiece technically available, but it was Davis Webb, who was making his first career start at quarterback. After a shaky first half, Webb came alive in the second half, powering himself into the end zone for a 14-yard touchdown run, his first career TD.
So this is the Fox 5 news outlet, because again, I feel Fox already has a hen in the fox in the hen house. So I don't really necessarily tape that, but oh, and they do work together. So I watched the other one for whatever reason. But I also have Channel 4 this morning, which is the Peacock network at PEA. All right, so this is Channel 4 news in New York.
For this.
I mean, that place went wild when that happened.
It was everything you wanted it to be for this whole week. What DeMar went through and everybody went through, and we're just happy for him.
Heading into the playoffs, Buffalo might need a bigger bandwagon and a bigger get-well card.
Now, the cameraman put up for me, it says Bills, and then it has this one over here again, and they have this praying. They have a sign that they're all signing, wishing him well.
It's 10 feet right now, and I could have probably did 20 feet. It's been full for a while.
They had a man wearing Ryan on his lapel.
Hearts will be full for a while here, too, after this week, which started out hard and turned into something hard to imagine.
We're signing the back as well.
Did we win? That's what DeMar...
And I didn't know until I started listening to this about this. Like, I found out a couple of weeks ago, because I was, I have whatever I had in 2015 with Special Task Force Mark, and thinking that really was it. Like, I was not going, like, trumpets were going to whatever. I didn't have to go back to I wanted them to just carry me out and off the field and just like, I want to be part of wherever I belong. I don't want to keep doing this with whatever. And I definitely don't want to lose touch with Alexander. I don't want him to grow up in amongst the strangers. This area is Stranger Things for me, and inside out, upside down, and like, who carries hate in their heart? Because one side's maybe with a Tia Frio, one with a Romer. They got silent wars going on, and I'm just like, through contract negotiations and false whatever. Ghostmanship, ghost riders, who's flying in, who's flying out. I just like can't. Where's like the time where like I get protected and like I get to wake up happy every morning? When does that happen? Because now I've been here. It's 2023. And that last, if I could pause space and time and just hold a meeting nobody will ever know about, that was like 2015, I think. It's got some special clock number on it because it doesn't exist in the space and time.
Asked his doctors when he first woke up in the hospital days ago. Last night, after the Bills' victory, DeMar tweeted, "We all won." For Today New York, in Orchard Park, I'm John Chandler.
Great story by John there. Meanwhile, DeMar Hamlin is saying thank you to the men and women who saved his life. He tweeted.
Now, interestingly enough, it says Hamlin Island, And he's starting a campaign, I guess, asking, did we win? Again, I don't know. Win what? Who knows? From the 2023 seat I'm in, no. Back in the 90s, I needed a very specific person and a very specific capitulation. And something in the system failed. Something in the system of humanity failed. I don't know what it was. I still don't know what it was. But it's still not right. And I know it's not right because my person and Alexander are not surrounded by this overwhelming love and this overwhelming support. We don't even have people around us that talk correctly or speak correctly. Not about us, not about why we're here, not about the divine order, not about how they relate, how they don't, what we should say, where we should be. I mean, we're just in some survival mode at the moment, not even really speaking to one another.
Tweeted a photo and linked to a line of t-shirts he's selling. The design includes a photo of his hands making a heart and a hospital tag on his wrist with the caption, "Did we win?" Those were the first words he spoke when he woke up after collapsing on the field. Now, all proceeds here go to first responders and the University of Cincinnati Medical Center.
It's an inspiring story, yeah. All right.
And he was doing so much with charity already, right?
Yes,
For
absolutely.
Toy Drive, which went into the millions.
Yeah.
So it's really good stuff.
Great.
Oh, my goodness. What's happening, Maria?
All right, we have some.
Now, I've never heard this before because, again, I really don't follow the sport, but I did not know the Bills were called the Mafia. In fact, I just saw this movie called The Godfather. I have not watched it my entire life. Again, it's not some... I know there's a portion of the Citadel that exists that way. I've heard rumors. But it was not... I grew up in a glen, which was out of the Citadel and the whatever that the men do in a different layer of security.
Season ended yesterday with an emotional win for the Buffalo Bills. 1 week ago, safety Damar Hamlin for the Buffalo Bills nearly died on the field in Cincinnati, stunning the league and millions of viewers. The 24-year-old posted this image yesterday, captioned, "Game time," as he cheered on the Bills from his hospital bed. And I'll tell you what, it got the Bills juiced up. Other teams and their fans honored Hamlin over the weekend with signs, prayers, and references to his jersey number, which is number 3. National correspondent Jerika Duncan is with us right now. Jerika, good morning.
Good morning. You got us all juiced up. Doctors say Hamlin is still technically in critical condition, but he is breathing on his own, and his neurological function, they say, is excellent. Hamlin spoke to the Bills players and staff via FaceTime on Friday, and there's no doubt that yesterday his teammates met the moment with a victory.
And here's Hines on the run back.
From the first play of the Bills matchup against the New England Patriots, it appeared something special was in the air.
This is storybook. An opening kickoff return for Damar Hamlin.
Even before the game started, tailgating fans outside of Buffalo's Highmark.
Now, this is Channel 2. They have this on Channel 4 and on Channel 5 as well. I also saw it on Channel 7. Again, I don't want this video to be forever long, but it's pretty, the actual game is the same. Some of the spotlight pieces are a little different, with images and what their theme is. This one has a mention of this Pepsi.
Highmark Stadium could feel it.
It's just a community coming together, and then not only that, every community coming together.
The Bills Mafia's got your back, buddy.
Bills Mafia.
We got you.
And it says official bank of the Buffalo Bills. I don't know what that means. I understand the words by themselves. I have an idea, but I don't have a bookkeeper to explain to me exactly, and I don't try to stretch that level of like.
Inside the stadium, diehard fans known as Bills Mafia were decked out with signs and jerseys in support of Damar Hamlin. Bills players hoisted flags that read, "Pray for Damar," running onto the field wearing special patches with Hamlin's number 3.
Boy, is he quick. Allen on the run and open! John Brown!
After Bills wide receivers.
I'm just saying, is that word like a Darby word between the Hamlet and Lynn? Just curious. My mother's name is Linda. Kayleen to get Bella. Let's not get all excited now. It's Lin, and then it's HAM.
Receiver John Brown scored that touchdown. He gave the ball to assistant trainer Denny Kellington, who was first to perform CPR on Hamlin immediately. Overall, Hamlin's number 3 loomed large Sunday. Bills quarterback Josh Allen threw for 3 touchdowns. The Bills defense logged 3 interceptions, and that stunning opening play marked the team's first kickoff return for a touchdown in 3 years and 3 months. Allen called the moment spiritual.
I was going around and I was going around my team saying, God's real. Like, you can't draw that one up, write that one up any better. Just been 3 years and 3 months.
It's sacred geometry. I'm actually moved that he's so moved. And they also have my other number in there on Continental because they've got 1871.
Since the last kickoff return, so it's pretty cool.
Hamlin, who was tweeting live updates throughout the game, said it was no coincidence. Running back Nyheim Hines.
It was all about Damar. He was here for us, and I felt like he was running with me on that field.
Why is curse words?
A fundraiser for Hamlin's Charitable Foundation has now surpassed, get this, $8.5 million. The foundation also released a line of T-shirts yesterday that read, "Did we win?" Which is the first question Hamlin asked when he woke up in the hospital. In a tweet, Hamlin said the proceeds from the shirt sales will go to the first responders and the University of Cincinnati Health Trauma Center, where he is receiving treatment at this time. I could not say this. They need to go to the Super Bowl, right? Like, they need to win.
Right.
I am cheering for the Bills. They had the massacre earlier last year. They had the historic snowstorm. Hamlin, I mean, come on.
That story, Jerika, just had goosebumps after goosebumps after goosebumps.
Yeah.
Somebody better be playing 3 today in the lottery, which, by the way, is ginormous numbers. But Nate, when I was off and I was watching the story, I kept thinking, I wonder what Nate's thinking. What is he thinking? Should he go back and play?
Listen, if he's cleared to play, he loves the game, he will go back and play.
Really?
I truly believe it. And the guys rally around him so much.
Yeah.
So what an amazing win
Can
for
I
the
just
Bills.
hear you say, "Go Bills"?
Go Bills.
Yes, go
I
Bills.
see what your Bills blew on.
Go Bills. Go Bills. That was great. Coming up, more reaction to Prince Harry's act.
Now, later in this broadcast, there was something that was going on. I guess if I can find it real quick. Gail says something about she heard Tom Brady speak, and they were like the I don't even know what to call them. These people, whatever this job is, I guess a journalist, they were saying like, oh no, like we'd really want this, and Tom Brady's like, no, that's not how it works. And it seems to be like there's this level of confusion between even like the journalists and some idea that they have. But again, like that's where this really frightening like mob mentality. But I guess that's why I feel you have like these two really big, scary features being like the mob and then the mafia. Like, just let them battle it out and like, let's keep gang relations at like bay at the moment, I guess. I mean, how does that third component come into things? Because that gets really frightening. I saw one of the newscasters he called out to the gang this morning. Literally, that's what he said. And I was like, oh. And then he was like shaking. Now here it is.
As the 2 seed, earlier we showed you some amazing tributes to Damar Hamlin, but this kind of got lost in the mix. After the game, Bills offensive lineman Deion Dawkins, he gave an interview with his daughter on his lap. It was hilarious. Check it out.
I truly think. Can I answer this question, please? Okay. But just real quick, can I have like 30 seconds? Okay, thank you. I think that with being a professional athlete, you learn how to.
So you see who runs the house.
Yeah. But Nate, I love how when Jerika and I were saying, yes, let the Buffalo Bills win the Super Bowl, you had crickets. Because other teams like Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, they're going, no, that's not how this works, girls.
Right.
That's such a girl way of thinking, oh, it's such a great story.
It is a great story.
Win.
I'm pulling for the Bills. I want the Bills to win.
You do?
I do. It's a great story. All right, Inside Edition anchor Deborah Norville will be here to talk about.
And then they throw out to me, I mean, you humans really don't let like Thomas Aquinas go down like without me noticing things. At Star Wars level of things, somewhere between the 77 of A New Hope and then this 83 of the Return of the Jedi, and then the stars lining up at 80 for The Empire Strikes Back, I see Thomas has a new fan club. Well, Brady has a new fan club. It's called 80 for Brady. I guess, are these the generation that came before us that look favorably upon him because they had the correct astrologers? I'm just curious because it seems to be a lot of Holy Spirit out there in all the right places. And then it's coming out on FEB3, which is there's 2 number 3s.
You're tired of the same old boring lives.
Let's go to the Super Bowl. I'm in.
On February 3rd.
I'm taking this one's cute.
Best friends.
So you don't have any tickets?
Hey, let's go, Golden Girls.
Get into the best trouble.
I'm at a party with a bunch of kids.
Why is champagne such a violent beverage?
If you did this, you give us something to remember. It worked.
80 for Brady. Only theaters February 3rd.
Again, I mean, they put this stuff out there. I'm listening. I'm here. I have no idea. I mean, I'm going to go for a run, or my pathetic attempt at a run, but I'll be out there. I'll show up for myself today. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.